Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. And today we're going to talk about the Disney royalty lineup of the Renaissance era. So, when the Renaissance era began, it was this really huge, big experience, as I said before. But how did the royalty stand up? How did the prince and princesses stand up? And honestly, this was a really great era for that. Where we said our first three, Aurora, Snow White, Cinderella, how they were ideals, people who we should be, and then we talked about how the prince was an incomplete idea for the most part until we saw Philip and Arthur and Taran and poor Lonely for the princess line. We saw these elements come back in, but also the aspect of dreams. So we talked about that before in the phase one, where dreams were different for for our three princesses, and those dreams helped make Cinderella the best one because her dreams were something that she didn't just have and wanted; she needed them to get through the day. And with Taran, he was a bit too into his dreams, but we sort of went with Arthur in that one because Arthur had dreams, he had aspirations that he knew he couldn't have, and he sort of resigned himself to just, being the best at whatever he had. That's really great. So actually really gut-wrenching thing. So coming to the Renaissance, we amped up everything, and the idea of dreams came forward a bit. So let's talk about our princesses first. So Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, and Mulan, for our main ones, were not really all defined by dreams, or at the very least, the obvious sense of dreams. We sort of went with, again, the Cinderella package, that dreams were important, and that was ultimately personified with Ariel. Ariel's dreams are everything to her, and to achieve those dreams, she'll do anything for them. And where I said the first three were characters and people we should strive to be good, decent, honest, the best of humanity. Ariel sort of sums up, what we should be willing to do to achieve our dreams, which is just about anything. We should be willing to take risks at times. After all, this movie does reward Ariel for taking those risks, regardless of the dangers. Then we come to Belle. Belle also has dreams, but her dreams are just sort of vague, and that's important. The more vague the dream becomes, the more emphasis we can put on the character and understanding them. With Belle, she's an outcast. She dreams of an adventure. She wants something that no one else sort of understands. It's not something she can put into words accurately, despite how much she reads. She wants something special, something specific, and I think ultimately what she wants is someone who she can talk to, someone who understands her, and it's the Beast in that way. Coming up to Jasmine, Jasmine's dreams don't really happen, and it's not a bad thing. By the time we got to Aladdin, actually by the time we got to Beauty and the Beast, actually really quick, the dream aspect sort of falls apart. Not that it's bad to have dreams, but that we were going for more direction of character. And Jasmine was sort of hit the ground running for that. Because in the film, she actually is carrying up the torch Eric left. That's something important because we're going to see throughout this that the Disney prince and princess roles sort of are merging together and how different they are. So with Jasmine, she wants to marry for love. She wants to, not have to pick one of these pre-selected suitors. She's the first princess to actually deal with being a princess. Aurora didn't know. Snow White was running for her life. Cinderella had to marry into it. Ariel was 16th in line for the throne, so there's nothing important for her to really focus on. And same with Belle. But we also saw the certain fire that Belle and Jasmine share. The sort of resolve to stand up against things, and that'll be reflected on in later princesses. With Pocahontas, her dream sort of says, well, you should go in the other path, the other direction, and she doesn't quite understand what that means until she meets, the white man. And the problem with Pocahontas, she's sort of the weakest one because of that, because her character is sort of bound by the restraints of this vague concept of going a different path, but at the same time, the whole historical setting sort of hurts her character a bit. Not even her character, sort of hurts the story because there's more emphasis getting of that story point than anything else. Then we come up to Mulan, and there's no mention of dreams in Mulan. Well, at least not the final cut, the original draft, yeah. But what makes Mulan great is that we sort of left the dream, we sort of left the glitz and glamour of the Renaissance and say, well, let's focus on the character a bit of Mulan. Let's hit something, as I said before, a bit more universal, something that you could argue is this great crusade for the rights of others and whatnot. But at the end of the day, this is just a girl who doesn't quite get it. She's not able to grasp the concept everyone else is getting, and she really feels frustrated and anxious about it because she knows she's letting a lot of people down because of it. She's really afraid that she will make her father Shang, make earn that disappointment. And we see that interaction, that really great interaction between parent and child, which Disney has sort of been building up to from this standpoint. But Mulan finds her footing, finds her own worth, and the ability to like herself over the course of this adventure. She looks in the mirror and she likes what she sees by the end of it. And then we come to, well, the princess. The Disney prince really came alive here. It really did. It really did. And if I had to think of the flaw of the Disney princess line, it's that the princesses are always sort of right. And it's not to say that, well, I don't like that. I have a problem with the women being quote unquote right. It's not the issue. The problem is that Ariel is totally within the right. The movie rewards her for it. Same with Belle. Same with Jasmine. Same with Pocahontas, I guess. And there's not much of interest to their own growth because of it. There's no dealing with the consequences of their actions. With Mulan, it's never really a matter of what is right, I think. She just doesn't want her father to die. And that's a really great aspect. But coming up to the prince, it always seemed to me that the Disney prince was the character that actually had to grow up. It was about boys getting their heads out of the clouds and starting to take on more responsibilities. Eric he takes a very carefree life. He doesn't have any real responsibilities. He goes from place to place, it seems, and he's not really set on finding a wife. Like Jasmine will later on, he wants to marry for love. He wants a mind, and he doesn't really quite get that. He sort of has his own variation of the Stockholm syndrome to some extent. Well, not even Stockholm syndrome, sort of hero worship. This idealized woman that he's looking for doesn't realize that he's felt not only is it Ariel, but is falling in love with Ariel. That was an interesting thing. Then we come into Aladdin, who what's interesting about Aladdin is he starts off saying, I'm not just a street rat. There's so much more to me. Then by the end of it, to achieve what he wants, which is not just Jasmine, but the royal life he wants, he has to sort of abandon it. He has to say, if I'm just a street rat, she'd laugh at me and nothing happens. He is no longer believe there's so much more to him as a person. He's totally got rid of that. In the end, he has to learn to be himself. And over the course of this series, the other two movies afterwards, the animated series, we're seeing Aladdin sort of come into his own as an adult as he tries to win the Sultan's approval by doing various jobs and deal with not knowing his father. It's all really interesting stuff about him effectively growing up. And we didn't get that before. With the Beast, with Adam, there's this complex sense of failure, and again, growing up, but also how to, be human effectively. That's as Beast attempts to to gain his humanity, he first has to grow up. He has to not just turn back into a human. He has to learn to be a human. He has to learn to not act like an animal or a spoiled child. That's effectively what his story is. John Smith has all the growth and interest of white bread. And I just said white bread because I actually like toast. And yeah, he's just dull. There's no lesson for John Smith to learn because he doesn't come in with any real lesson other than, this place is like every other place. Oh wait, no, there's a girl in this one. It's stupid. It's just dull and anyway. Then we come up to Shang. Now Shang was phenomenal. He honestly took up the role of Jasmine, if you really think about it. But when I say that, I mean the fact that Jasmine was the first the first princess to have to take the back seat, but not even really a back seat, because it's not her movie, it's Aladdin's, and it's not Shang's movie, it's Mulan's. And Jasmine and Shang both come into this movie as fully realized, fully awakened characters with their own backstories, their own motivations that make them unique and special in the world. That's the strength of that. So with Shang, he's juxtaposed to Mulan very well. He's uncertain about his future. He has these optimistic ideas. The difference is, though, Shang knows how to do it, but there's also this big deal about their fathers. And it's very telling and very poignant that Shang's father dies in the war that Mulan has joined to keep her father from dying. It's really, really great, really potent stuff. And we see how Shang sort of grows. He doesn't even really grow, honestly. Shang is someone who knows nothing but the military life. And we sort of just see how he rationalizes things. Like, he has total faith in his men. He's trained them. He's led by example. He was totally willing to send Ping home because Ping wasn't up to snuff. But then Ping shows improvement. Like, hey, Ping's in. And then when he finds out that Ping is actually Mulan, he makes the proper decision of not killing Mulan, but rationalizing by saying, she saved my life, I've spared hers, debt's repaid, and then we go. And then he compartmentalizes it. We see that when he does listen to Mulan when she first shows up, because there's probably also a sense of hurt and betrayal that, enough damage has been done by her just joining the army. And yeah, it worked out, but it's too much. And then when push comes to shove, when there's actual stuff done, Mulan has an idea. He's totally up for listening. That's really great, really fun, and whatnot. And then we come to our interludes. So, Hunchback of Notre Dame and Hercules were choices that I really wrestled with. And what I liked about them was that they were outcast. Tarzan was a bit too prolific, I think. But it was a bit too intense, and there's not much to say about Jane and Tarzan. But whatever. With Quasimodo and Hercules, I chose them because they were the outcast. They were people who wanted to belong. And this sense of belonging sort of plays into a lot of other Disney films. Aladdin effectively doesn't fit into society, so he wants the high life. Belle doesn't fit in. She has no one to talk to. Beast is a physical outcast and a social outcast, but this is his own fault. Quasimodo and Hercules are outcasts not because of any choice they've made. It's because they're born this way. Well, Hercules in part because, poison. De-godding poison. But Quasimodo is indoctrinated, relatively indoctrinated to believe he's ugly, he's misshapen, he's a product of the evil of gypsies and whatnot, to some extent. And what he really wants is to, go out there and walk with the people, and Esmeralda helps him do that. And then with Hercules, who is an outcast because he doesn't belong, because he has the Elsa problem, that he has powers he can't control. Hercules can't really control his strength. He has to, walk on eggshells. And under his study with Philoctetes, he's able to gain that control, but he doesn't quite get where he belongs. But it's really with his interactions with Megara that he begins to understand what it is to be a hero. And then we have Esmeralda, who Esmeralda doesn't need a hero until it's literally out of her hands to escape. And what makes Esmeralda great is because she doesn't need anything from Quasimodo. She doesn't need anything from Phoebus except, someone to say she claims sanctuary. But what works is that, she's out here not really fight the good fight, but, she's that representative of the culture. Esmeralda's supposed to represent, the oppressed groups, fighting for justice, fighting for equality. And, maybe it doesn't quite work, because it honestly doesn't, because we know exactly who the problem is. It's one guy who's telling other people to do some stuff, because Phoebus does that. Yeah, I forgot Phoebus. I keep saying John Smith is forgettable, but oh my god, Phoebus. We forgot about Phoebus. He's just a funnier John Smith. Moving on. Anyway. We see Esmeralda sort of serve as a sort of calming nature to Quasimodo. Like, she helps him realize he's not a monster, and help realize that, things are not as bad or as evil as someone tells you, especially if Quasimodo stand on his own 2 feet, because Esmeralda wants nothing from him, doesn't want his compliance, doesn't want him to believe anything other than, that he's a good, decent person. That helps Quasimodo sort of rise to the occasion to fight. With Megara and Hercules sort of play off of each other, where Megara helps Hercules sort of, find out where he belongs and find out what it means to be a hero. Megara learns to believe in heroes, learns to believe in people. That's the sort of weird sub story of Hercules in this movie, is that no one believes in heroes because where are the heroes gone? Phil tells us, what happened to Odysseus, Achilles, Perseus. A lot of this is, the heroes have come and gone. They've all sort of failed in one way or another. And Hercules sort of reignites that spark in people, and especially Megara, who did not believe in anyone, did not believe that anyone could be good or anything at all. And then Hercules restores her faith in humanity. She's come to want to rely on him. That's the sort of beauty of their dynamic. And those relationships are sort of what helps make the Disney Renaissance era really great. Because before it was guy saves girl, then they get married, or girl meets guy, she goes off, and then they get married, or something along those lines. Here it was much more interesting, much more profound, because these relationships are important. They help shape people. Aladdin and Jasmine really connect over the fact that, hey, our lives suck for different reasons, but we still feel trapped by them. We see that with Ariel and Eric. Well, not really with Ariel and Eric, but we see sort of the idealized versions of people can sort of can sort of be met with the realistic interactions with people when we take away everything and just interact with each other. We saw that with Belle and the Beast, how the two of them sort of help, complete each other in different ways. Belle has someone who understands her, and Beast has someone who's helping him grow as a person. We saw this with Pocahontas and John Smith, in that, we can interact, we can learn, this is gold, this is not gold, I'm not a savage, you're the savage because you're here taking my stuff, go from there. And then we have Mulan and Shang, and what makes Mulan and Shang great is that their relationship really only happens when it's all said and done, and Shang doesn't quite know what to say. He's sort of entranced by Mulan. The time they spent together is now totally different because it is different. The big joke was that Shang was secretly gay. I don't think Shang's gay. Like, if he is, whatever. It's already been retconned by the first movie and the sequel. But Shang does not connect with women that well because women probably don't get him. He like Eric is looking for a specific woman, and even then he doesn't have a lot of time for it. And Mulan, after her adventure, she's much more confident. She's the one that initiates, asking him to stay for dinner and everything else. Those two are so different yet so similar that they complement each other the way I think a lot of us want to find in our relationships. So, who's the best and worst Disney royalty? Who's the best prince? Who's the best princess? Who's the worst and whatnot? So, honestly, for best princess, we'd have to go with Mulan, because Mulan sort of takes everything of both. It's sort of what works. She takes the best from the Disney prince angle and some from the Disney princess. And by the Disney prince angle, there's a definite arc to who she is at the beginning, who she is at the end. She's changed. She's confident. She effectively took Arthur's story and made it work in a really beautiful way. I think we'd have to say Belle as the second. Now, usually people like to put Belle up first, but there's something to be said about Mulan's arc and journey and how it just sort of ends up with her in this really interesting relationship. And Mulan plays off every character better, but Belle is someone who we should aspire to be, someone who is totally, independent, self-assured, a bit lonely at times, but also willing to stand up for the people she cares about. And maybe that's why Mulan works, is because she's imperfect. She's unsure. She has a lot of real aspects to her that I think that call back to people, that reach to them on a special level. On an interlude standpoint, if we counted that, it would still be Mulan, honestly. Megara's Lois Lane approach to believing in heroes is really that big of a deal, honestly. And Best Prince, well, Best Prince, it has to be the Beast. Like, we made a good argument for Aladdin and possibly even for Shang, but the interesting arc of the Beast, of him growing up as a person, his duets with Belle, how he interacts with not just Gaston but Maurice and the staff, and it all just sort of really helps create this epic character. And I think that's sort of where the beauty of Beauty and the Beast comes from. Actually, it's not just Belle; It's how everyone plays off each other, and Beast does it a bit better than Belle, because we see Beast grow from it, and there's a bit of interactions that sort of reflect himself. So yeah, best prince is the Beast. Best princess is Mulan. Worst princess is Pocahontas, and the worst prince would probably definitely be, well, it's got to be John Smith. I don't know why we even put any hosts on it. I mean, the best thing about John Smith is Phoebus, who's just John Smith with a sense of humor. And that's sort of about it. If you have anyone else you think is the best prince or princess of the Disney Renaissance era, leave that down in the comments section. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check some of my other videos, and I will catch you all later when we start our new phase, our new phase 3 for the Disney Royalty series. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing out. May your fandom serve you well.